What's going on, all you wild advertising enthusiasts? It's your two favorite madmen back here for Cinephellas. I'm your hostess with the mostest. I'm Logan Myers. That's my good mate over there.
I'm Henry Hill.
And tonight, we're going to be diving into one of the greatest shows probably of all time, in a series I finally got around to. I started this 8 years ago and I got around to finishing the last 3 seasons, trying to remember what, everything that happened, but really had a great time with it. And we're talking about Matthew Weiner's Mad Men on AMC. Trying to remember what happened going back, 8 years and trying to fall back on these characters. It didn't take me long to, really pick up what was going on with this series, based on the advertising, business and this agency, Sterling Cooper, and, the introduction to Don Draper early on, and these, familiar faces that we've seen in a lot of movies and TV shows. But back then, 2007, when this aired, these are pretty much all unknown actors, but it really, started their careers, jump-started their careers into bigger projects. And what a fantastic show.
This is where Elizabeth Moss, John Hamm, all these big name actors and actresses that we know now, originated from. This is, of course, Matthew Weiner's creation. We know Matthew, he was a writer on The Sopranos. I'd heard some behind the scenes stuff from Matt about trying to get this show launched. He had written it actually before he started working on The Sopranos, and he pitched it to several different networks, but all of them turned it down. I think he said HBO turned it down, FX, but then he said AMC finally came on board and, picked it up, and he was able to launch his vision out into the world of this, world in the 1960s and on Madison Avenue in New York about these advertising executives that were involved in all these huge advertising campaigns for these giant corporations back in the day. And the main protagonist of the story, of course, is Don Draper, played by John Hamm. We meet him in the beginning. He's a family man. He's got a family. They're a pretty young couple. I'd assume he's probably in his upper 30s at the start of the series, if not early 40s. Him and Betty, his wife, they're a working class family. Don, we don't know about his past going into the pilot. Over the first season, you really learn about his past and, kind of his demons come out during this whole first season. You get a little glimpse into the real Don Draper and what's going on. But most of the stories told through Don's perspective, but we also get introduced to a ton of great characters, many of which are in the picture behind you there. Everybody from Peggy, basically Don's right hand woman that works in the office with them,
secretary.
And, secretary. She starts out as a secretary, and over the course of the show, she becomes one of, quite equal to Don over time under his tutelage, and their relationship through the show, goes throughout the 7 seasons of the show and throughout the 92 episodes. We get introduced to this world of advertising, which I didn't have any clue about. I knew that my uncle was involved in advertising in Chicago during this time, so that got me interested right away. And, I watched from the beginning on AMC. My dad had cable, so I was able to follow this weekly, and I loved it. The first time I saw it, from the opening credits to the look and just the attention to detail and the writing by Matthew Weiner, stupendous. This is a show up there among the greats for sure. Just all the detail, the great writing, the great acting and performances. These are stories that you don't usually get on television. These are, on par and even better than most movies. And Matthew Weiner gave us that.
But much like Sopranos and Breaking Bad, we have the anti-hero being Mr. Don Draper. He's a man on the run. He ended up changing his name. His original name is Dick. And, he has really haunting passes you see throughout the course of the 7 seasons. Raised by prostitutes. He really went through the ringer, went to the Korean War, I believe, and then found his way and became good friends with Roger Sterling, of the Sterling Cooper agency, and then Burt Cooper, obviously. But we get introduced to Peter Campbell, which is probably one of the best villains of all TV. A slime ball guy that you can't trust, little weasel. He eventually gets a little better towards the end, but the first 5 seasons, it's a guy you can't trust, up to no good. and he thinks, he's the best at everything he does, essentially. We also get Joan Holloway, Christina Hendricks, really fantastic role in this series. Also, her character arc is really great, gets better and better for her. Women's rights back then, a lot of women didn't work. They stayed at home, took care of the kids, cooked, different times back then, but you had these women that were taking on these roles, going against men, and not really being equals, but them showing what they're made of and working really hard in this agency, and they get better and better, and they're more equals. And eventually Joan becomes one of the partners of the agency, which is really cool. Other sub characters in the series that was really great: Ken Cosgrove, Harry Crane, he was like the head of the TV department. One of my favorite characters, Paul Kinsey, Mona Sterling. I was talking about Bert Cooper, and a few others that show up along the way. But the legacy characters in the show are really, really fantastic throughout the 7 seasons. When you see them change quite a bit throughout the time in the 60s where it starts and it gets into the 70s, it become more hippies and more laid back, with pop culture and music and art and fashion. A lot of things happen in this series. Each episode and each season has a theme. And it's not like a show that has a twist. You just see the development of characters and people that you truly care about, even though you have the backdrop in New York and this agency. And during the times of the 60s and 70s, this is really, focus on the characters and the character development, relationships they have. And, some people are not very good people, as you see throughout the course: alcoholism, smoking all the time, just getting themselves in really bad situations, cheating on their wives, and just being, not good people. But at the end of the day, they're there to do a job. They do a damn good job with pitching all these really great ideas for the companies we're all familiar with.
Don Draper's alcoholism is a central plot throughout the show. It is stupendous, the amount of whiskeys he makes himself throughout the day. We see a character here that's so layered. It's just phenomenal, the writing by Matt Weiner, just fleshing Don Draper's character out. You mentioned him, how he was raised by the 2 prostitutes. Obviously, a lot of childhood trauma that's carried on to adulthood here. And we see Don Draper throughout these 7 seasons of the show, these 92 episodes, really have several peaks and valleys. We see him hit rock bottom, it seems like several times throughout the run of these episodes. But we see the ultimate redemption in the end. It's one of the best finales that you could possibly hope for. It's one that delivered in every way. Just the way that, they crafted these characters throughout these seasons. And where they end up, I remember being so satisfied at the end. And we saw these characters, a lot of them broken for most of the time. And just to see them at the end and where the journey took them for most of these characters, just phenomenal. I can't say enough about the show and the writing. It's really what makes it work. And these actors just all put in terrific performances and gave these characters so much life. And like you mentioned, every episode's its own thing. It reminds me a lot of The Sopranos in that way, where you can kind of, watch any episode out of order even, and you're going to be satisfied with what you see. You won't have to necessarily know every little detail before that. Each episode feels like its own thing. It's following the narrative, of course, but just so rich and full of life. The costumes, the wardrobes, the set pieces, just the look of the show. It's beautiful. The sound, the theme song, whenever that plays, it's one of those theme songs that I'm not going to skip it. Usually you do, but for whatever reason, I like hearing that intro. It just gets you into the mood and gets you into the show for sure. Yeah, this is one of the best shows of all time for me. I can't say enough about it. I had a great time watching it. I miss it. I want to rewatch it for sure. It's been, since it ended airing. So it definitely is time for me to rewatch Mad Men. I hope it, comes out in a new 4K box set soon.
Oh man.
But
yes.
it is also on Amazon Prime, like you said. So maybe I'll give it start it up here once I'm done with a couple other shows.
Throughout the course of the show too, you really see some really great relationships, Don and Peggy being one. Even though it wasn't really a romantic relationship, she worked, Peggy worked for Don as the secretary, and you see her grow in her career. And he's guiding her. He's really hard on her, but they have this really, fatherly daughter relationship at times. Like he really wants her to succeed and do well. And towards the end of the series, you see her pitching these huge ideas to these companies, and where, Don is giving her the keys to move forward and, do her thing and selling, being in the ad agency. So I thought that was really great character arc. I thought it was a really great relationship throughout the series. And you could see that Don really cared about Peggy. But yeah, like you were saying, there's just a really fantastic writing in the series. Matthew Weiner really crafting something original. I know they've done other TV shows like ABC, NBC back in the 60s, like Pan Am and all that stuff. But this is the first original show that paved the way, for other series to come after Mad Men, Breaking Bad, Walking Dead. The list goes on and on, but this is the first original series. All pretty much unknown actors at this time that really kickstarted their careers into huge movies and other TV shows. And it's really phenomenal just to go back and finally finish this and see they go out with these characters. Essentially, some are good, some are bad. There's a lot of great stuff in the show. Costumes, makeup. The show won a ton of Emmys. For all performances, writing, costume design, set design. It really takes you back to the 1960s and 70s. And I also love how they throw in real historical events. The landing on the moon, the Beatles. Stuff that happened in history. They kind of intertwine it with the characters in the series. And probably one of the most memorable ones was with the moon landing, and then a few episodes towards the end with Peggy skating in the office when they're saying goodbye to the office and moving to the new location, and her just being badass. Those are two of my favorite episodes.
Beautiful direction and beautiful camera work. Yeah, there's a lot of iconic shots from the show that I can remember. Like you mentioned, Peggy going around the office skating. The one where she, I think she gets fired at one point and she's got the box and she's smoking and she's out. I remember that.
I love that shot.
There's a lot of shocking moments too. The one where they had the lawnmower.
Yeah, I forgot
driving
about
the lawnmower around the office, and somebody actually accidentally turned it on and ran over some people's feet, and blood squirted out everywhere. Yeah, just a lot of terrific moments. Classic TV, classic Matt Weiner here. I love the Mad Men. This is one of my favorite shows of all time. I couldn't rank it anything lower than a 5 out of 5 Pete Campbell hair pieces.
I think me and Uncle Pete have the same hairline here, sport. What a scumbag. But yeah, in terms of the MVPs of the show for me, we're definitely Peggy Olson, Elizabeth Moss. You see her transformation, like physically and as the character, and her roles, in this series. She ends up becoming a boss and people are working for her. It was a big deal back then. Men didn't work for women back in the 60s and 70s. So I thought her transformation from just being the normal secretary to, somebody that's respected in the industry. And Christina Hendricks playing Joan was also, becoming a partner, a mother in the show. Her and somebody else ended up having a kid accidentally. But I loved her character arc. Obviously Don Draper, Pete Campbell, Harry, Stan as well. Stan and Peggy, we were rooting for them to get it together. They eventually do towards the end. But just a lot of great, performances in the show. A lot of great sub characters. A lot of the legacy characters that lasted throughout the 7 seasons. You just become invested in them, and you end up loving, these relationships and seeing where it all goes. And it really does have a happy ending that makes you feel good, and definitely one of the best endings of series of all time for sure. So that being said, I'm going to give Matthew Weiner's Mad Men a 5 out of 5 Peggy Olson hair pieces.
What did you guys think of the show Mad Men? Did you guys watch the series as well? Are you going to go back and binge it now that we've hyped it up and talked about it and told you how much we love it and how rich the writing and directing is? Let us know in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to click subscribe. Also follow us on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check out our website at Cinephellas.com. Spread the love. Tell your friends about us. We like to get on these and do a lot of reviews. We're going back and reviewing things, that have been off, over for a while. Movies, older movies, newer TV series. We can't get enough entertainment. These two media junkies here are enjoying talking about all these, shows and movies that we love with you guys. And we want to hear from you. Let us know what you guys would like to hear more from us or us to talk about. We love reading the comments from you guys, and we look forward to doing more videos for you guys.
And this wild rascal over here will be back talking about more TV shows and movies coming out very soon. We got some more giveaways on the horizon and also some more podcasts, so stay tuned for that. So that's it for this review of one of the greatest TV shows of all time, Mad Men. I'm Logan Myers. This is my good mate over there, Henry Hill, signing out. Until next time. Cheers!
Cheers!